All right, so we are officially recording and I'm going to start sharing my screen. So I'm going to repeat it for the ones that couldn't attend. So I strongly believe, and anyone that you talk to in the industry, they will tell you if you learn one DSP, you're able to figure out other DSP. Matter of fact, how many times have I not interviewed people that I was supposed to hire for the agency that I used to work with? And they'll tell me, oh, I've used the Trade Desk, I've used Viant, I've used StackAdapt, but I haven't used DV360. I would instantly hire them. Why? Because if you're able to learn how to use one of those DSPs, you're able to figure it out in DV360. And most agencies will give you some trainings anyway. And so that's the beauty of what we do is that the technology is all different. It just looks different. Sometimes the color is different, but they all have the same essential settings. Turning on the campaign, geographic, audience, all of those remain the same. It just looks different. And some of them have more advanced settings compared to others. So if I haven't shared with you the Trade Desk Solimar training, I can do that. Remind me. I know I shared it with Jordan. I don't know if I shared it with you, Fahida and Priscilla, but I can. And it's a training I did in Solimar, not Kokai. And so you'll be able to see, oh, Trade Desk looks like this. It's a little bit more complicated. So I'm going to share my screen. We're going to look at 3. I'm going to look at 3 desktop. There you go. Look at 3. Can everybody hear me okay still? Because it just asked me
Yes.
something about my volume. Okay, perfect, perfect. All right. So I don't see your faces, but I see if you're doing a thumbs up or if you have your hands raised. Okay. So on your screen, you should see Chuzo. So you do see Chuzo, right? Perfect.
Yes.
Okay. So I see Chuzo. Um, I don't see something. 1 second. Okay, there you go. I see the meetings now. All right. So Chuzo is now owned by the Trade Desk. Usually when the Trade Desk clients, I don't know, go below their spend threshold, or if they don't want to work with an agency trading desk like Goodway Group or Ventura something, then they go to Chuzo and Chuzo handles it. So the Trade Desk is one of the most used or most popularly used trade DSP right now. And then you'll have the second ones like DV360. Viant is taking some market share. And then you'll have other mid-tier, top tier 2 DSPs, which Chuzo is one of them. I'll show you Growth Channel, which is the next one, and I'll show you AdLib. But like I said, once you start looking at one, you'll be able to look at all of them. And I'll give you access to one of them so you can practice setting up something on your own. And so that way you'll have it. So what you see on your screen is basically just Chuzo. As soon as you log in, it'll tell you, how many ever accounts. Obviously, I only have 2 here because this is a training account, is a demo account. And then I was hoping it would show you, but at some point you'll see that there's a billing window that's going to open and it's going to tell me like, oh, all your campaigns are off. Update your billing so that you can so that I can spend with them basically. But I don't have nothing running right now, so we're not going to do anything. So any dashboard that you log in is always going to show you how many active accounts. Sometimes you'll have filters. So let's say if I haven't read anything in the last 7 days, then maybe nothing will show up. So always remember to your filters, and your filters can look different ways and it could be in different spots. So I'm going to click into HeleneParker.com. It's loading. Okay. Oh, there it is. You must add a payment method to your organization, blah, blah, blah. And so you have to remember that Chuzo offers some really great targeting. A DSP is supposed to help us reach the audience that our clients wants us to reach. There's many ways you can reach an audience or the consumer that we're trying to advertise for. Remember in module, what was it, 4, I think, where I talk about all the placement, and I talk about in 5, I talk about the different tactics. And so you can target behavior contextually, you can target from a keyword list, you can target from a site list, exclude them or include them. And obviously you can target from a you can also target from a geographical. So all DSPs offer those things that I just mentioned. The beauty of some is that some are known for more robust and advanced targeting, like DV360. Something that's unique to DV360 is like it's Google owned, first of all. And so if the client is running other Google marketing product like search or Google Analytics, or they even have the ad server called CM360, Campaign Manager 360, it's very easy for them to plug into DV360 and just report on stuff, right? And so that's the benefit of it. And also, Google does app downloads very, very well. And so, people that are running in the trade desk, for instance, if they have a campaign where downloading apps is one of the main KPI that we have to measure against and track, then they'll have to have a third party like Coachava, App Flyers, so that they can do that stuff. And so back in the days, at least, Stack It Up used to be known as a native only. That was way back when. Like they only did native, programmatic native, but now they offer everything. So see, like some DSPs are very specific, but they offer other things. Simplify used to be only geofencing. Now it's addressable. And so all of these, you're able to, all of those DSP offer somewhat the same. So I just clicked in one of the campaign that was set up way back when. And then you'll see over here, you see Chuzo is just thinking like nothing is going to show because nothing ran. But in your dashboard, when something run, you'll start seeing colors. You'll start seeing how much budget was spent. You'll see the amount of impressions. You'll see the win rate. You'll see CPM, CPC. So all of this on your dashboard, you pretty much see it in most of your DSPs. It just looks different. Okay. And so if I have to edit anything, and I'll set up one campaign really quick with you, it'll have to come, if I have to set up, it'll have to be over here. So Chuzo is very, very straightforward. Let me just go ahead and show you other settings before I set it up. But once you have a campaign set up, you'll have different tabs. This one just allows you to edit the campaign level. So see, like when you are creating a campaign, you're editing a campaign, it asks you what type of, it starts with the goal. When you first create a campaign in the trade desk, you also have to start with a goal. When you create a campaign in DV360, Viant, Simplify, it will always ask you a full goal first. Why do you think that? Why do you think that the first thing a DSP asks you to do when you're first setting up a campaign is starts with the goal? Tell me your thought.
To set up the KPI metrics across the company.
Yes, to some extent, right? Like if you're selecting awareness, it's going to give you KPIs that are relevant to this awareness. Okay. So like if I'm selecting conversion, watch the Google. So watch over here, right? Goal KPI. Watch this right here. I'm going to click on conversion. See, it updated to conversion based KPI. You know what I mean? It's like this is an engine. So you're going to input settings. You're going to let the engine know if this happens, this should be it. If this doesn't happen, this should not be it. At this price, how long? Like this is just an engine. It's the technology, right? It's a train. You tell the train where you're going, how fast you want it to go, how many audience, how many people can get on the train, at what pricing, how much energy it can take. All that stuff has to be inputted in order for you to do it. And so conversion KPI should be different than awareness KPI. Now, I'm going to use in my example awareness because obviously we don't have a pixel place. So when you place a conversion, when you select a conversion, it'll ask you to automatically set up for the conversion event. And this is what I talked about yesterday in our other training is that when you create an event, it goes by, I don't know, test. It goes by the URL. Okay, so I have to be able to track this URL, but I have to have a pixel on this URL in order for me to track any events or any traffic on it. And let's say if this was a order, like I was selling shoes, I could even put the value of, oh, this particular product page URL is worth $100, right? Because everything that they purchase on there is $100, let's say. And so that's how you're able to track return on ad investment, revenue, and things like that. But for the sake of our example, I'm gonna set awareness. And it tells you awareness is the engine, like Chuzo is going to optimize towards the greatest reach or estimated numbers of people you could see on your ad. So reach, right? Because consideration, it shows you the fancy funnel here in the middle. Optimize to bid on inventory with higher likelihood of getting clicks. Basically, this is click based. This is this is awareness, this is click based, and this is conversion based. If you remember in the grid that I share, I have it awareness based, click based campaigns, conversion based campaign. So the click based campaign is a consideration. And so the awareness, you'll have reach, CP, cost per video completion. Yeah, active string. Almost say click through view. And then you'll have a viewable inventory, like viewable CPM, VCPM, completion rate. And so some people did CTR. And if I have to optimize my campaign, or if I'm telling Chuzo my KPI here is CTR, click through rate, you have to tell Chuzo what it is. You can't just tell Chuzo it is, this it is. Let's be for reals. Every click through every click through rate conversion that's above 0.08% is probably not. Like you shouldn't optimize based on click using programmatic channels because it's an ad, there's like fat fingers, there's like accidental click. And so it's not the best like it's not the most strategic way to grade a performance, CTR at least, not in programmatic. But it's one of those like traditional KPI, traditional digital KPI, oxymoron. But so if you come across a campaign that has a CTR in social and search, you might have a CTR goal in programmatic, but that's not the way to go. Like you shouldn't have a KPI for all channels. You should have different KPIs for those channels. And so, okay, I'm gonna put 1.08. I've had client tells me like we want 1.5%. And I'm like, shit, we could give you 1.5, but it's not gonna be humans. So don't do it. You have to be better than me. Anyway, we've never done it. But so then the next thing is gonna ask you, okay, so now that you want an awareness-based campaign and our main KPI is CTR, for the sake of our example, even if it was CPC, it'll ask you like how much is the CPC or whatnot, right? And so a start date, an end date is always going to ask for an end date. And then it's gonna ask you like, what's your total budget? So if your total budget is 250,000, oh wait, oh I can't change it because I'm editing a campaign. Aha. Anyway, let me restart then. But let me restart because I was showing you via this. Discard changes. I need to come back to campaign. Okay, cool. So before you set up a campaign or before, excuse me, before you create a campaign, you have to create an advertiser. Usually the advertiser is created by uh, whoever has access to it, but it's super easy. The advertiser is like, what's the name of the advertiser and their URL or their landing page, and that's it. And so imagine that I'm already created the advertisers, HeleneParker.com, and now we're going to create the campaign. We're going to say May 2025 test. And then I was at awareness. Let's do CPC. Let's say $3.50 is my goal. We want to end by this, and I guess I want to start as soon as possible. And then I'm going to put $250,000. Pace ahead, pace evenly, and pace manually. This is exactly what it sounds. I'm telling this engine, I want this 250, wait, is it $250,000? Yes, I want the 250K to be spent ahead evenly. That means every day during that taking account of the frequency that we have set up, that we're going to set up in a second, we're going to spend exactly the same amount of money, no matter what. Pacing ahead, which is programmatic standard. Like most people out here in the streets, programmatic streets, will set it up as pace ahead because it's telling the engine, because we started from scratch or fresh off the bat, um, I want to spend a little bit more at the beginning to really ramp up to be as aggressive as possible. And I think, and I always forget the formula, but I think it's like 20% of the budget is spent in the first few days so that it's really it's like you're more aggressive. Another reason why more people say pace ahead is because some days you'll spend $10,000 a day. Some days you'll spend $2,000 a day. Why? Because on that particular $10,000 a day, the engine with optimization after running for a few weeks decided that every Wednesday, most people convert during this time. So we need to maximize. So we'll spend more during that Wednesday than on a Thursday where, oh, most people don't look at our website or don't go buy shoes on Thursday, let's say. And so we'll spend less. And so pacing ahead, this tactic, this type, allows us to really, we're pacing it unevenly, but by the end of the month or by the end of that flight day, you should have spent everything, or at least you should see that it's going down towards the last few days. Okay. And the last thing I'll show you is pace manual is literally like it's almost like pacing evenly. It's just like I'm telling them let's pace this particular thing a day. That's all it means. There reason why you would want to use this option is like in the case of under pacing, like I'm forcing the machine, like no matter what, whether we're converting or not today, you got to spend this money, basically. So that's a poor example, but it would be why some trader would would do this. You don't have it over here, but I'm pretty sure in some DSP there's even like unlimited pacing where it's like pace as soon as possible. No, it's like spending as soon as possible. So like if if your campaign starts spending at 8, like by 8:05, it spend the whole damn money. Okay. So some DSP allow that too. This Chuzo doesn't allow that. Or at least it doesn't do it as much, if I remember correctly. And then the next option here is like auto allocating ad groups for budget. So this is the campaign that I'm setting up. So the campaign is the strategy. I want to sell shoes. And each of my tactics are going to be the ad group number one is going to be, I don't know, single women that joined this run club in Raleigh, North Carolina. Okay. And then the second one would be moms that like to run with their kids. And then the third ad group would be, I don't know, dads. And so each of those ad groups are different tactic within the strategy that is, which the objectives of selling shoes. And so if I click on, it's going to evenly allocate to those ad groups based on the conversion. Okay. So that means that if my ad group one doesn't convert as much as my ad group two, then more budget will be allocated to ad group two because that's where all my conversion are based on what I've set over here. Make sense? And so if I don't want that, then I'll have to turn it off. And then we can also add extra spend, like no matter what, those are the minimum spend those ad group has to do. And so you can see that I can always add all of these options, no matter what. And see again, the conversion event, it looks different for different DSPs, but the conversion event is basically like what are you tracking? What are we making sure to optimize based on? Like if this is CTR and it's not a conversion, like how can we add this conversion tracking so that we can make better decisions, right? From a human perspective. The impression caps is basically like if you're, if you're selecting reach, let's say, and because I've ran campaign where there's an impression goal. So if the client pay us X amount of dollars for 1 million impression a month, we can put a cap of 1,000,002, 1,200,000 impression just to give a little bit more, but cap it as that because otherwise anything above we might be losing money because we're probably charging by the impression. So that's why you have an impression cap right here. Let me save and see. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, whatever. Let me just do this. I'm gonna reset this to like 1 cent for a sec. Oh, dang it. Let me just put $1, I guess. Because the way Chooser works is that as soon as I save, they're gonna send me an invoice and be like, "Oh, you owe us $200,000, $50,000." But this is not one. All right, cool. So I'm setting up my ad group and I want to target single women runners. to buy running shoes, let's say. And then if I'm trying to respect naming convention, I'll add a date, I'll add the KPI, and then I'll add sometimes, depending on where you're working, you might have like a billing code added here. After that, you might even have a geo in the naming convention. It really depends on who you're working with, but the naming convention can look a little bit like that. And then this is choose your ad format. So is it a video? Is it connected TV? Now look, if I select connected TV, see how the goal for this ad group changes, right? Even though um uh each ad group has to have their own goal because you're getting deeper into your tactic, remember. So the campaign is selling shoes, it's awareness or it's conversion based. This particular ad group is a CTV. Obviously, you won't see any conversion because sometimes it's not always best practice, but sometimes if the campaign says selling shoes, but you can run like a CTV ad group and then you can run like a display ad group, then obviously the CTV ad group should not have conversion base. You're watching TV, right? You can track offline conversions, yes, but you shouldn't like expect the person to click on the TV and right away do it. There are methods of, converting via CTV, but we'll talk about it a little bit later. So I'm just going to keep it simple. We're going to do reach. It's going to ask you for your location. Where are you trying to track these people? I'm going to say Nevada, let's say. And see how it tells you like, oh, are you talking about Nevada, the city in California? Are you talking about the city in Iowa, Missouri? This is so ridiculous. Like, why can't we have you anyway? We have Nevada. Apparently, I didn't know Nevada was so popular. Otherwise, it's probably a good example of a bad example. It's like, why would we have? It's like Richmond, the city Richmond. There's Richmond, the city of Richmond in almost every single state in America. Why do I know that? Is because I was supposed to target Richmond, Virginia, and I accidentally put Richmond something else, and the campaign ran. It was like a dealership in Richmond, Virginia, and then it was running in another state. That's an error I don't want you to do. That's why you have queuing. And so for the audience, these are pre-made audiences because you're supposed to create that audience before. So before I get into the audience, I'm going to get into the audience next, and then we'll do another DSP. And then this part is where you would add like if there's any site or if you will include your site. So remember I talked about a universal site. And let me see if there's okay. So these all are categories and site from this DSP. So I didn't come over here and say like world localities, North America, Midwest, Ohio, Virginia, Richmond, Petersburg, Richmond. I'm beefing with Richmond. So we can, let me see, Universal. Oh no, okay. So I thought I could show you, let me see, Choosel. So sometimes when the DSP has like a universal exclusion list, it'll put it under like Choosel or Trade Desk owned or something like that, and you can edit it. But anyway, you can. So this is where you would put your inclusion list. And if you had, they call it a launch deal explorer, like a deal explorer, but it's a private marketplace deal where oh, look, Choosel efficiency display. So that's how I know that, oh, this is something that Choosel curated already and I can test it. But the private deals, if you remember the difference between open exchange and private deals, that's module 3, I think, or 4. Is that open exchanges you're targeting everywhere and maybe nowhere at the same time. And then private marketplace is like a few of those deals are available for a few of those advertisers. So it's supposed to be a little bit more premium. And then something I don't talk about the um in the program yet is the concept of curation. And so we can talk about it separately. But if there is any curated deal that you would have requested from, let's say, Triple Lift, then it would have been in this library. Okay. So I'm going to get through some of these or just if you remember, if you have the optimization grid open, some of these you'll recognize like as targeting levers. This is how you select if it's only mobile. It should only be one selected for per ad group. In-app should always be separated from desktop. That should always be separate from mobile web. Now, I've had some people just separate in-app and just combine mobile web and desktop web together. I don't know. I usually just separate everything. It's because like in-app can be cheaper, but can be highly fraudulent, but it can be super effective in some cases. All the above, basically. It's counterintuitive, I know, but that's the beauty of of in-app. Like everybody has a phone in their hands constantly, so this strategy should be separate. And then the auto optimization would just ask you like, oh, see, do you want Koa to optimize? Even though this is not the trade desk, it's owned by the trade desk, and the benefit is that if you can't afford a trade desk as a brand or an agency, you can use Chuzo and still benefit to some extent. Okay. In browser, you'll have select on the browser, device type. So like next week, I'll show you, are we doing, I think we're going to do site next week, or I'll show you at some point, I'll show you reach and frequency and then technology. And this is what it is. Like if I'm not targeting other Opera, if I only want to basically target Chrome, and then I'm launching this campaign, and in this ad group, let's say I see Safari, I'm gonna be like, wait a minute, wait a minute, something, the math is not mathing. I'm gonna reach out to Chuzo ASAP and say, why am I seeing Safari when I'm only supposed to bid on Chrome? Sometimes that's how you can catch a mistake. If you see in your report and then you come in and you're not supposed to see in a report, the first thing I want you to do is check if you actually set it up that way. It made a mistake, a fair mistake. And if you did, you have to let your manager know, you just have to say like, hey, I was doing my optimization. I noticed that this was included. It was not supposed to include. We've spent X amount of money. It's meaningless, but I still wanted to know that it happened. Here's how I'm going to avoid this happening in the future. I've implemented an extra question in our QA checklist. I've created a QA checks, take that initiative because that's what a manager level buyer would do. I mean, a manager level programmatic ninja would do versus just a junior level. So like take accountability before you get caught. um and then if you do get caught, you still stay accountable. Like there's way to fix this error happening. It's like if somebody had checked your work before it went live, it would have never happened. If you had a centralized way of checking the work, so you hear me talk about a media map in the course, you hear me talk about QA checklist. I have tons of templates I can share if it's not shared in there. And so there's a way to avoid my mistakes, with the mistakes I've done. Fold. Oh, pop quiz. What is the difference between above the fold and below the fold? Who can tell me when I slip in this water? You can mute. Let me know.
Drawing blanks here. I think of paper when I think of a fold.
Yeah. Well,
Is
it's started with the papers. Go ahead, Faida.
above the fold is about the basis of the bid. I don't know, the minimum bid.
Not quite.
If we
So back in the days, this is actually a traditional newspaper terms. Like everything below the fold and before you fold it is above the fold, right? Or below the fold. So for the digital world, everything that you see right now, I didn't scroll. I didn't scroll yet. Everything that you see is considered above the fold. As soon as the page loads, and it could have been also Amazon, it could be anything, right? Everything above the fold, like this ad, is considered above the fold. And so what is asking me here is that do you want to bid higher for above the fold or lower for above the fold? And so it's taking a minute to load. It's taking a minute to load right here, but my connection is unstable. And then once you start scrolling down, then you'll start seeing ads pop in. Obviously, I'm not seeing any ads today. I'm always seeing ads on this website. That's why I'm here. But you'll see pop some ads popping here and there. That's below the fold. So this is, again, it's a term we borrowed from traditional media, from newspaper. So you kind of why you get extra point, Jordan, for guessing. But this is important where when you have a campaign that you want like high viewability, let's say, um, you can you can always exclude below the fold so that the only inventory that you use is above the fold, excuse me. So here's a hack. When a client asks you to target a specific something, if there's an opposite of that specific something and you're very stretched on your budget, excluding the opposite of what you're supposed to target is always a hack that always worked. Okay. So in the example of above and below the fold, if I only want to target part of the website that are highly viewable, because as soon as you log in, not all, obviously my example was terrible because nothing logged in, but nothing loaded, excuse me. But as soon as you look at the website, if you don't want your ad to show below the fold, then you exclude it. So excluding is always going to save you more coins than obviously bidding higher. Because what I'm saying here, if you're not familiar with bids, is that if I start my bid at, what is it, $5 bid, that's high, but I'm just giving you an example for the math. Like I'm willing to pay up to $7.50 for this bid. All right. But if I'm bidding 0, then it's already going to exclude it from from anything I'm bidding. And then, so I'm only going to bid at the 1, which is at a 5. So that's what max and that's what bid multiplier is about. Okay. So when you hear people say my bid multiplier is at 2x, it means I'm willing to pay twice as much for the base bid or the max bid set. That's what this is. And then frequency is how often we want it to be shown. The impression caps is here again, just in case, I only want this to be serving X amount for this particular ad group. Scheduling is like, if you want to exclude a certain time, then you can exclude it. Supply vendors are all of my, what is it called? They are my source, my SSPs. This is very interesting. I actually never noticed that it said recommend these preferred partners. That's very interesting. Oh, shucks. Hmm. You know what? I would be curious to know if these preferred supply vendors update based on the audience or based on the targeting or I would be very curious. But in DV360, I know that because I've ran in DV360, you're not seeing it on your screen right now, but when you select all, there's like a check box somewhere. Be careful if you ever log in where it says, and all new SSPs or resellers or whatever sellers, be careful because sometimes when you check the box that says targets all new SSPs, it means that if somebody, like, it could be a not legit SSP or something, a bidder that just comes out of the way. It could be fraudulent, it could be bot. I don't know, like it'll instantly add it into your pool. And sometimes you don't need that. And honestly, sometimes you just don't need all of those you don't need all of those SSPs sometimes. I'm not shooting on SSPs, but sometimes you just don't need all of them. You know what I mean? Like this star specifically is digital out of home. This is a display. You don't need Vistar. You know what I mean? And you'll less likely bid on Vistar inventory anyway because you don't have the creative format for it. So it's less likely that you're on there. But make it easy on the engine. Just remove some of this stuff. You know what I mean? And then you have the creative, and then you have the total budget for that ad group and the base bid, and then the maximum bids. Any questions so far? Okay, I'm not going to save that. Cancel. So this would be, you would repeat this process for all of the the tactics at the ad group. So this is what Chuzo looks like. These are the custom audience that we've built in the past. And so every DSP that you have some type of there's sometimes a DMP, like data management platform, where they have direct access and partnership with those data providers, the salt base that I mentioned. And so that's where you would come set up. So in the audience, you can have your custom audience based on those third-party vendors. You can have first-party audiences, meaning, again, you have to have a tracking pixel. And if that tracking pixel is set, then you can add, let me see, like if there's a retargeting tag, obviously it's not tracking for some reason, should be at least. You're able to set up like retargeting based on this based on this URL, retargeting based on this action. You can even do retargeting based on this what is this called? Creative. And so this is what the audience allows you to do. So third party audience, first party audience. You can manage, you can have a CRM onboarding, which is if your clients have like a list of addresses that they want to target people that look alike, or upsell those people, you can upload it here. You'll have a template to fill out, and then you can re-upload, and then it'll tell you like it's $1 per onboarded, and it's most out here in the streets have to go do it via LiveRamp. Except I think DV360, you can upload it directly, I think. If not DV360, I know Trade Desk, you can just copy paste it in the emails and they do it themselves. But see like how you can't, like you have to request it basically. Oh shit, hopefully it's not. Dang. Somebody's gonna email me. And then the campaign was where you would see everything that you have set up. So I've set up my campaign. And then the libraries are like where you would set up your creative. So usually creative is like it's provided to you. Like you're not going to design a creative. At least a trader shouldn't. Account manager shouldn't even. Like it's a designer. Creative designer should create design the creative. If you have like those universal inclusion or exclusion list, this is where you would upload it. You'll just do it as such. You can always use a template or copy paste the URLs here. And then once you're adding here, you can see it in that library. So you can do creative here. Oh, take it. You can do site list. You can do geolocation if like there's a list of zip codes specifically or a cluster of zip code. IP address is the same as like an IP address is it would be considered first party because it's the client's customers data IP, and then keyword list is literally the keywords. And so not all DSP are created equal. That means that not all DSP would offer things like IP targeting or keyword targeting. And so if you have to do this for one of your clients, but your DSP is limited in that targeting, then there's third party. There's always a partner out there that can help you do it in your DSP if that's not something. Okay? So I'm gonna take a pause right now. Oh, the last thing I would say is that every single DSP will always have a help, like a library thing. And like I would always, when I talk to directors in programmatic media, they're always like, what stands out from the juniors that they hire is that they're willing to spend a little bit more time to figure out how to do something before they reach out to us. But like they're not afraid to reaching out to us just in case they can't find the answer on their own. And that's who we want to talk to. So I know it might be like, oh, that makes sense. I'm that. But like I even had situation where I've reached out to a manager, and the manager would say something like, you should know this, or it's in this document, or whatever. If this happens to you, like just brush it off. It's definitely not like it's not cool. Like, you're such in a learning phase at this point. Like managers should be patient with you, should give you the grace to continue learning. And sometimes if it's something they're already repeated themselves, like I understand it can be frustrating. But to me, if a junior employee or like my report is constantly asking me the same questions, I'm either not understanding it, I'm not explaining it correctly, or this report is way too overwhelmed for what I'm sending them. So I need to take it back a little bit. Not fire them, but just take it back a little bit, if you know what I mean. And so this is a good way for you to check out like, oh, can I do this in this platform and really Google it? But like I wouldn't spend more than like 15, 20 minutes on a problem or maybe 30 minutes on a problem. And then like that would be too much. Like just ask for help at this point. And when you ask for help, my advice to you is that, hey, can we hop on a call? Can you share your screen? Can I record it so that I know how to do it again in case, I forget or in case I forget. That's it. Any questions? Yeah.
Whenever we're setting up the audiences and everything else,
Mm-hmm.
does that go before setting up the campaign ad groups and like setting up the budget, Ellen, or is that right after? Like, what's the right
So
way of
in
setting
this,
things up?
that's a great question. Thank you, Priscilla. In this platform, I recommend setting up the geos, like, the settings before. And then once you set it up before, then you can do the campaign. But you saw that it wouldn't stop you from setting up anything. It's just don't start. Remember to go back and save it. You know what I mean? And so I would recommend for this platform particularly, like you have to set it up before. I think it would be easier versus anything else. Like in another platform, like even in DB360, you'll have the DMP already embedded. So like you can select the audience right then and there. For this one, you have to save the audience previously. Those are the little nuance that I'm referring to when it comes to certain DSPs. Make sense?
Okay, so it's best to set up the audience beforehand to just make sure everything's gonna run and test it. Oh,
You have to,
thank you.
yeah, you have to set up the audience before you say, I mean, before you launch the particular ad group. Otherwise, if you launch that ad group, there's no audience set up. I'm pretty sure you're going to target everybody and their mamas and their papas. You don't want that. So, so I would do it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would do it. But also like that is part of your QA checklist, right? So like before you set up anything, you got to verify your work. And so as you go back into that setting, you'll see like, oh, shucks, I don't see an audience. What type of audience should it be? Oh, I'm going back to my media plan. Oh, I said this type of audience. Oh, I can create it here, save it here, and then select it after and then save it again. So this platform growth channel is an ad lib actually. Where's ad lib? I don't know if you're seeing my whole screen or if you're just seeing this. Desktop 2. You're seeing this? So you're saying ad lib and then this and then growth channel. Can you see both? Because it's two different browser. So there's this, I don't know if it's craze, but it's a good thing. There's been a few technologies or really smart people that discovered that those big tier one DSPs are so robust, so complicated to make it to access it for smaller business, for tier two advertisers. Those are not the advertisers that are cheap with their spend, but those are just the advertisers that probably don't want to commit to one. And so DSPs, tier two DSPs, but also called meta DSPs, offers those brands that I'm referring to the ability to target, to still have like advanced targeting.
You froze.
Oh, can you hear me? I'm back.
Okay, we can hear you now.
My bad, my bad, my bad, yo. Um, what was I saying? I instantly texted my IT manager, which is my husband, like, you need to hard connect the Wi-Fi to my computer. I don't know. It's not his fault, obviously, but I don't know why it just did this. I've been sharing my screen all day. So maybe my computer is like, yo, sis, you done a lot today. So all right, so I'm still recording. Let me just share my screen. I mean, we have a few minutes left. Okay. So Growth Channel is one of those meta DSPs that I'm referring to. So it gives access to most of Participant can now see your screen. Okay. It gives us access to different. So it's like sitting on top of other DSPs. So like for instance, where's my mouse? So for AdLib, for instance, let me make sure you're still seeing AdLib here. Boop. Oh, dang. It's still saying it's unstable. My bad. So for AdLib, it's you have the ability to, it's plugged in into Trade Desk. It can be plugged in into Xender, DV360, Adelphic, which is Viant technology. It's plugged into StackAdapt. It's basically have access to all of the DSP. The benefit of working on a meta DSP like AdLib is that you can test an inventory before you want to commit. Or if it works well, then you stay with AdLib, right? Because now you can test more. They even have access to Amazon DSP. And so that's the beauty for and why more and more brands and maybe some agency are considering those meta DSP. So there's a growth channel that I'm going to show you today. AdLib is over here. And I'll show you hopefully in the next few minutes. And then there's also there's another one called Pontiac Intelligence. Yes, like the car. I think they rebranded recently. It's called something else, but anyway. So boom. So you'll see that this DSP AdLib kind of not look like Chuzo, but it's almost the same. So like remember how in Chuzo, as soon as you logged in, you could see let me just do this test one. You could see the campaigns that were live. Like see, as soon as you log in here, you can see the campaigns live. You can click through it. And over here you see how it was Xender because that was one of a test campaign we ran recently. But obviously you can't see it now because it's blurred out. But there you go. So like you'll see that those campaign, oh, you can even see like the DSP. So those two tests that we did a couple months ago actually ran into on Xander, right? And so you see that the advertiser is me. That was a campaign, sign up to our services, and that was just to push for a March workshop we did. And then you see the edit button. And this dashboard, you can always like recustomize any dashboard. Like if you want to add more things or if you want to remove some things to your view, you can do that. And so see how in Shuzo, it would start with the campaign, the objectives. So this one I had already selected banner or video reach. And then hold on, let me see. Let me see if I can create one real quick. Okay, so create a new one. See how like obviously AdLib, which is a different DSP, it's including more campaign objectives. Like in Chuzo, you only have 3, right? Awareness. What was the other one? Consideration and conversion, which is very Trade Desk native. Like that's what you see in Trade Desk. This one, it's not only offering you Trade Desk inventory, but you have an inventory on MediaMath, Xender, all of the other DSPs. And so it's including all of the DSPs goal. So like if I want to run political, like we know for a fact that Microsoft Xender and Trade Desk are not doing well, at least they're not doing as much political. Like they said nah to political money. And so this is probably going to go to another DSP like DV360 or something. You know what I mean? And so there are uniqueness to some of those DSP that I mentioned that you should be aware of, but like most likely your agency or your team will already have a DSP. App install, like I just told you that in order for you to do app install really, really well, especially on Google and Androids, like DV360 is the way to go, right? Like it's Google. Literally, Google have access to all the library of downloads. They don't have access to iOS, but they have access to the Google one. So that's the way to go. And so you would select based on that. So that's the little nuances in between. And so let's say, and like cannabis and CBD, a lot of DSP don't do that. They're like, nah, we just don't do this. So they don't do it. And out of home, I've mentioned that it's very specific to like a Vistar. So like if you do out of home, you'll see that the goal is very specific to out of home. Oh, the same thing here, Priscilla, is like these audiences, you'll have to pre-build them before you can add them here. So I'm leaving this open. And I'm pretty sure this is not going to let me save because I don't have an audience. So if you are running a campaign on multiple DSPs and you forget that ad lib, you have to set it up before. Like you don't even have to go that far down to realize like, oh shit, let me just build it really quick. Time, budget, daily budget, agency margin. So like some agencies will be like, oh, our minimum spend a month is $25,000 no matter what for the brand. And then we shave off 10% of that $25,000 and then it's in their pockets, right? And so they have multiple things. I also told you that evenly through the end or spend ASAP or what is DCPM? Dynamic CPM basis. This is very specific to AdLib, but it tells you what it is. Oh, we don't have a spend ahead here. So spend ASAP. That's what I was referring to, the ASAP one. And then you can auto optimize based on the CPM, the max bid, impression. There's a frequency cap. So here at the campaign level, you're able to do frequency, you're able to add the creative and then the ownership, like which advertiser. And then let's say if is it gonna let me save? Nah, see, it's like not even let me save because I'm missing all of those things. Oh. So let me just go into one of them. Okay, so now I'm clicking within the campaign. Okay, within the campaign, it's asking me for the target. Where's the audience? The audience is media buyers. So like right now I was targeting media buyers. So let's say I forgot about the media buyer. And so it's going to send me to their audience DMP. And this is how you build the audience DMP. Oh, wait, you have to come over here. You're about to see everything in my life. Audience DMP. What was my audience name? It was Media Buyer or something. Oh, there it is. So now you saw that I created that. You can duplicate. Duplication, cloning is going to be your best friend. And I know you're at time, so I'm gonna wrap it up soon here. But see how I'm like, oh, I've selected third party, live ramp, identity link for digital advertising, programmatic digital advertiser, media buyer, all of that stuff. So I know I'm targeting these people if I ever forget. Okay. I have a separate video that I can share with y'all about how to create those the audiences. But if you want me to walk you through it live, I can also do that in one of those DSPs fairly easily. The only difference in AdLib is that all of the other DSP, there's a hierarchy. You hear me talk about it in module 2. We're not introduced the DSP. There's always a hierarchy. There's the advertiser, campaign, ad group, or advertiser, campaign, insertion order, and then ad group. It depends. Adlib just said, screw all of this hierarchy. It's too complicated and confusing. The campaign is what it is. So each of your campaign represent a tactic here. Okay, so like there's no sub anything after this. I feel like that's the only nuances between other ones. And same thing for growth channel. Like you can see growth channel, you can activate, you can also only plan. This one is actually pretty cool. So if you guys want to go for a second one, I can try to see if I can make time next week. But I'm gonna try to ask them to give us access, if I can give y'all access so you can test in here. Yeah. Anyway, any questions? Where's Adlib? Oh, there you go. You're right here. Cool. Did that make sense? Was this helpful? I know that
Yeah, it did help.
I know it was breaking up a little bit at the end, my bad. But the whole purpose is that, so the next step I'm hoping to do is to send y'all an example of media plan, to send y'all maybe access to Choozle, and then to have y'all set it up.
Okay.
Like set up something in Choozle. If I cannot get Adlib or Cross Channel, I know how to do that in Choozle. It's fairly easy. And then maybe by the next, I can do another bonus DSP review specifically for y'all. But usually what I do is that after I send the assignment, you guys QA each other. And usually I'm able to tell if somebody done the assignment correctly or if somebody not done, because you guys QA each other and you guys are talking to each other. This is correct. This is not correct. I have a follow-up question, that type of things. But I need a little bit more time to do the assignment. So if you don't receive it by tomorrow, I'll try to send it to y'all by Monday. And then Faida, you in the Wednesday class. So next week we'll do we'll continue our optimization session, okay? And so all y'all also optimization assignments. Sounds good? Cool.
Yes, it's good. Yes, the optimization assignment is for tomorrow,
Yes,
or
it was for
it's for
tomorrow.
tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah, it was for tomorrow, but I haven't sent it to y'all, so I'm just gonna push it for next week. So I'll be able to tell y'all in the email that, okay? I'm still working on a few details.
Okay, good.
Okay, cool. So you have a little bit.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Have a
Okay,
lovely
thank
rest
you
of your
so
day.
much. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, Priscilla. Thank you, Fahida.